That was creepy. What is going on? Welcome back to my channel where your nightmares come to life. It's me. Join me today as we explore the things that go bump in the night. Our next Reddit user will remain anonymous, and they'll be sharing their story about the door that only opens at midnight. So let's begin. The basement door in our old house always seemed to be stuck shut, no matter how hard I tried to open it. It wasn't locked because I checked every day. My dad had put up some sort of child safety mechanism on the other side, but he never told me or my sister about it. The only time the door ever opened was between 12 o'clock and 12:01 am. For the first few times this happened, I was asleep and it woke me up. I thought I was imagining things. But then one night I got up to use the bathroom and caught the door actually swinging inward on its own. I reached out to stop it from hitting the wall, but the thing must have weighed 100 pounds. It swung me around like I was a rag doll and hit the floor so hard I blacked out for a second. When I came to, I cautiously approached the door and pushed it open. My heart was pounding. There were stairs leading down into darkness. They weren't there before. At least, I didn't think so. Our house is only one story, and there isn't a basement or foundation like other houses. It's built over permanent bedrock. The stairs were definitely there. One step wasn't lined up with the others, meaning the steps themselves shifted when I tried them. To get closer, I turned on the light switch beside the door, but it didn't do anything. The bulb was burned out. I hesitated, scared of what might happen if I went down those stairs. But curiosity got the better of me. As I started down, the door swung shut behind me. I felt something brush against my leg and I screamed, jumping backwards. I fell and scraped my knee. Pain shot up my leg and made me stop screaming. I looked down at my knee, then back at the door, which hadn't moved. I pressed my ear against the wood and listened. All I could hear was my heartbeat. I started banging on the door to try and get out, but it wouldn't budge. Then I heard a noise from below, something like rocks falling or gravel shifting. I continued to bang on the door, calling out for help until my throat was hoarse. Still nothing. Then I tried the handle. It was unlocked. I turned it, pushed the door open, and climbed the stairs. My legs shook and my entire body trembled. I raced to my parents' room and pounded on their door. "Mom, Dad, please wake up." I don't remember exactly what I said, but it was something along those lines. They were very groggy at first, but once they realized it was me, my mom ushered me into the room while my dad got up to investigate. "What's wrong? Why are you making so much noise?" My mom asked, cradling me like I was a small child. I couldn't speak. I kept glancing over my shoulder toward the basement door, which had been propped open by my dad. He'd gone to check the lock, I guess. "What is it? What happened?" My dad cleared his throat awkwardly. "Sorry, it must have been a dream, hon," he said to my mom. "Weird dream," I whispered. Mom hugged me until I stopped shaking. She shushed me and tucked me into bed. She stayed with me until I fell asleep. I didn't tell her or Dad about the basement stairs because I was afraid they wouldn't believe me. In the morning, after the coast was clear, I snuck out of bed and raced downstairs. The stairs were still there, but the door had been locked. This time I tried the knob and it didn't move. I turned around and raced back to bed. I tried the door again later that day and it was locked. This continued to happen every day. The door would unlock for precisely 1 minute starting at 12 a.m. and lock itself again. I tried prying it open, kicking it, even headbutting it. It wouldn't budge. Every time I approached the door, I heard scratching from within the walls. Sometimes the sound would start when I was still across the house. Other times I hear a sudden scraping noise that made me jump away from the wall. Then there was the flickering light. I'd be lying in bed trying to read or study, and I'd see the faint glow coming from under the door. It was too even to be a candle. It looked like a flame dancing in the wind. and sometimes I'd hear the crackle of burning wood. Whenever I got close to the door, the light would go out. I checked the cracks in the door with my phone's flashlight, but I didn't see any wires or anything out of the ordinary. It didn't look like anyone was using the light to hide. No one was living in there, not that I know of anyway. One night I brought a camera into my bedroom and set it up facing the basement door. I hid behind my bed and watched the monitor. At 11:58, the door began to shake violently. It scraped against the door frame, almost like it was trying to break out of it. I huddled on the floor and watched in horror as the doorknob started turning. It unlocked itself. At 12 o'clock, the door swung open. I watched as a dark figure descended the stairs. The light from my phone illuminated a face that looked like my brother's. He was missing, had been missing for nearly 3 years. When he vanished, police suspected foul play and the case went cold. The last confirmed sighting of him was at our house. According to witnesses, my brother got into an argument with our dad and stormed off. We never found his car or any trace of him except for his class ring, which turned up in the backyard 2 months after he disappeared. He stepped off the last stair, walked toward me, and beckoned with his finger. I froze. Was it really him? Could he have been hiding in the basement all this time? Did he climb down the stairs after arguing with Dad and somehow get trapped? I wanted to call out to him, but fear paralyzed me. My eyes darted around the room, searching for something I could use as a weapon. There was nothing. I picked up a heavy lamp, but it wasn't heavy enough, not against whatever this thing was. As it approached, the hallway light flickered on. The figure halted and tilted its head as if listening to something. It scratched at the wall, and I heard a voice in my head that sounded exactly like my brother. Come see what I found. He was practically at the foot of my bed now, and I could see his features more clearly. His left eye was milky white. His skin was gray and stretched tightly over his cheekbones, jaw, and forehead. There were deep crevices where his smile should have been. My breath caught in my throat. This thing was wearing my brother's skin like a cheap Halloween mask. Then it peeled back the bottom half of its face. The top half remained attached to the rest of its body, though. And underneath, it was something so hideous that I can't even describe it here. The stench of rot filled my nostrils and made me gag. I squeezed my eyes shut, dropped the lamp, and screamed. The creature lunged forward. When I opened my eyes, it was gone. I ran to the door and burst through it, stumbling down the stairs. I found myself back in the basement. The air was thick with the same foul odor that permeated from the creature. I shone my phone's light around and spotted a hole in the wall. Dirt and rocks had shifted, forming a small cave-in. I crawled through the opening and emerged on the other side in a narrow passageway. It smelled like dirt and decay. I turned around, but the entrance had collapsed. I was trapped. I started running in the opposite direction. The tunnel opened into a larger cavern. There was another opening in the wall to my right and a set of stairs leading upward to my left. I ascended the stairs and found myself outside on a hill overlooking our town. The house was nowhere in sight. I ran as fast as I could until I found a road and flagged down a passing car. I told them to take me home, but they shook their heads and drove off. I kept running until I was certain no one could see me. Then I walked slowly back toward the house. I tried the front door. It was unlocked. I called out for Mom or Dad, but no one answered. I found a note on the kitchen counter. It read, "Gone to get groceries. Be back soon. Love you," signed Mom. I poured a bowl of cereal and ate it slowly. Then I went to my room and threw open the closet doors. I searched everywhere. Where were they? Where was my brother? I heard scratching from inside the wall again and pressed my ear against it. I recognized that sound. It was my dad. He was frantically digging through the wall as if trying to make a hole. I ran to the basement door. It was unlocked. I slipped through just as it struck midnight. I raced down the stairs and waited for my dad to join me. He appeared breathless, shirtless, and covered in drywall dust. What the hell? How did you get down here? The door was locked. It unlocks for 1 minute every night. But it's not every night that it leads somewhere, I said. We stood there awkwardly for a moment until I heard a noise behind us. The door had clicked shut. I tried to push it open, but it wouldn't budge. My dad whacked it with his fist, then kicked at it. It was locked and there was no way out. In the morning, I found my dad slumped against the basement door, his face pale and lifeless. The room was pitch black because the power was out and the windows were boarded up. I was alone in the house again. That afternoon, I mustered up my courage and went to the basement. The boards were off the windows and light streamed through them. The door was slightly ajar. I peeked inside. The walls were covered in scratches and strange symbols. And in the center of the room was a puddle that looked like fresh oil. I touched it and recoiled at the heat. It was warm to the touch. Then I felt a pulse beneath my fingers. The door creaked open. Whatever took my brother is getting better at imitation. That was creepy. What is going on? Now let's move on to our next Reddit user. Their story is scary, and the title is The Door That Only Opens at Midnight. My house has a basement door that only opens at exactly midnight. It's like a TARDIS. I've lived in this house for 36 years. This door is a bit of an inconvenience. Every night it opens on its own for precisely 1 minute. And if you aren't quick, you miss your chance for the day. Sometimes the door opens and you can walk straight out without even touching the handle. Other times the door requires a firm shove to swing it open. I don't know why this happens. It doesn't matter if the lock is broken or the door is broken. If the door doesn't open at midnight, it doesn't open at all for the rest of the day. There is a dusty old light switch on either side of the door. If you turn both switches on, you have 12 seconds to pass through before the door slams shut. Turning the lights on has never kept the door open longer. The longest I've managed to stay in the basement is 15 minutes. If you manage to stay longer, the door will lock behind you and you can only escape the next night. If you turn the light switch off while you're in the basement, the door will slam shut behind you. And if you find yourself locked in the basement, the only way out is to wait until the next night. Anyone who has been locked in the basement overnight will tell you the only way to survive the night is to sing songs. You have to sing nonstop all night long, or else something will crawl up your bed and smother you in your sleep. So far, I've only been locked in the basement 3 times. Twice I forgot to turn the lights back off before leaving, and the 3rd time I got distracted and forgot about the door altogether. The last time I was locked in the basement, I sang folk songs, sea shanties, and nursery rhymes. I even sang show tunes from my favorite musicals. Anyone who has spent any amount of time in the basement knows that staying in the basement during the day is safe. The door doesn't open, and no one or thing can find you if you re-hiding in the basement during daylight hours. Some people have tried locking the door from the outside. Others have tried blocking the door from opening, but every attempt has failed. Even after the door is locked, you can feel a low hum coming from the other side. It's like a pregnant silence. You can also feel the temperature change in the room. It becomes a little warmer and more humid. You can hear whispering voices coming from behind the door. Sometimes it sounds like someone is having a conversation. Other times it sounds like someone is sobbing or screaming in agony. Occasionally you can hear the metallic screech of a door opening and closing. Those are the nights when someone manages to get through the door and disappears into the basement. And that's when I knew that I needed to leave. I didn't know where I was going, but I had to get out of that house. I sprinted through the door and raced down the stairs. The basement was completely empty. I didn't see anyone. I didn't hear anything except my own breathing and the distant whispers. The door behind me clicked shut. I turned around and backed away, tripping over a loose floorboard. I landed hard on my tailbone and stared at the door. It glowed faintly, and I could feel the heat emanating from it. Then it started to pulse like a heartbeat. I scrambled back to my feet and ran for the stairs. I climbed as fast as I could, bursting through the trapdoor and onto the soft grass. I don't know how long I'd been in the basement, but the sun was just beginning to rise. I could feel the warmth of its rays on my face. I had survived the night. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe and come back for more terrifying Paleys from Reddit. See you soon.